All right, Shalawam. My name is Lamont from the GMS Engineer 2 Camp, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm going to give all praises to YAHAWAH by Hashem, YAHAWASHI. Double honors to the elders of great and apostles of great millstone. And Shalawam to all the sincere AHCHYAM, laboring in true sincerity and keeping their garments and Lord willing, trying to endure to the end. Today I have this article. It's from Zero Hedge. It's called "Why People Happily Line Up to Be Microchipped Like Dogs." All right, so I'm just gonna go through a couple scriptures, read this article, kind of briefly, um, bring out the key points, like it. Um, all right, so basically, this article is talking about how I guess it's going into certain criterias, which if you don't know, brothers in the truth you already know, but if you're new to the truth, one of the things that we teach, through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, is that the microchip that they're referring to, which is the radio frequency identification device, which will be implanted in people's bodies, you know, like as the scriptures say. Like, matter of fact, let me get that real quick. This is Book of Revelation 13:16. And it says, "And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads." All right, and that mark is when you look up the word mark, it's the Greek word charagma, which we always bring out, which is basically it says a stamp, which we know is an incision in your flesh, which is the RFID microchip, because upon them inserting that in your flesh, they usually use a needle. We've seen in like videos, they use a needle and they inject it in your skin, just how, like, what I'm saying, they would inject like a vaccine into your bloodstream or into your body. That's the same way that they're going to be injecting these RFID chips in people. uh, all right, so let me see real quick. Let me go into some of these points real quick. Oh yeah, Slack. I'm sorry. So it said, "And they cause of all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand and their forehead." So that means everybody. It says rich and poor. Whether you're the poorest person, whether you're the upper class, at the top of the pyramid, so to speak. Um, so it says he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond. You know what I'm saying? Whether you're free walking the streets, whether you're incarcerated or whatever, you know, everybody at the end of the day, they're going to receive this mark. And like, you know, um, when you go back to the Roman Empire, which, this all leads back to the Roman Empire, because basically NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, the EU, they're part, they're the Roman Empire. America is the Roman Empire. So basically, that's what all this stuff stems from. Because like the scripture says in Daniel about how the last nation before the Israelites' kingdom is established or set up is going to be the Roman Empire. So by process of elimination, you would realize that we're still in the Roman Empire. It's just not called the Roman Empire anymore. But that's a whole nother story. I mean, but basically, the last one of the last prophecies, or the last prophecies, to take place, the biggest prophecies is, the mark of the beast, or as we know, the RFID microchip. And this article goes into, some stuff is pretty plain and simple, but this kind of just made me think. But let me get one more scripture before I really start going into this real quick. This is Proverbs. Let's see, this is Proverbs chapter 5, 23. It says, "He shall die without instruction, and in the greatness of his folly he shall go astray." And that's the majority of our people, because 2/3 of our people, they don't they don't seek, or they don't inquire to know the truth of the scriptures, and that these things, the RFID microchip and all this technology that's being upheld in a society, is negative. It's not positive. You know what I mean? They're being, led as a sheep to the slaughter. None of their religious leaders or anybody is really telling them this. So it says initially it would be the sheep who blindly desire to be chipped for their own convenience, leading the way. And that's, technology or whatever. Like, you have near field communication, the RFID chips, you know what I mean? You can go into a store, you know what I'm saying? You can swipe your phone, you can swipe this, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to put in money. Everything is linked to that account, like the SEPTA key, you know what I mean? In Philadelphia that they have out now. All these things are based on convenience, but it's all leading up to the RFID microchip. Um, Yeah, it says some employers are chipping workers. It says last summer the internet buzz was a buzz about a company in Wisconsin that wanted to microchip their employees. Workers at the technology company 3 Market Square were given the option of having a chip implanted in their hand, and 50 out of 80 eagerly lined up for the privilege. So that's more than half the people. So going back to what the criteria that they were saying earlier, you know, um, you know, it says, initially it would be the sheep who blindly desire to be chipped for their own convenience, leading the way. And that's basically, an example. And this is just one company inside of the US that basically wanted to do that. Or the people, they were testing the people out like guinea pigs. So it said why, so they could buy food or swipe their way through building security with a wave of their hand. Software engineer Sam Begeson explains why he was on board. And you see that a lot of companies, they have like the ID cards where you have to swipe it and all that stuff. They even have the biometrics, which you always be talking about. But like if you have any understanding, you would know that this stuff is leading up to the RFID chip with some Mark of the Beast. So it says what he quotes, it says it was pretty much 100% yes right from the get-go for me. In the next 5 to 10 years, this is going to be something that isn't scoffed at so much, or is more normal. So I like to jump on the bandwagon with these kind of things early, just to say that I have it. And a lot of people, that's people's mind state basically. Said he wasn't alone. In fact, they had a microchipping party and some people got chipped live on TV, so the rest of us reluctant humans could all see how cool it was to get microchipped. Watch what fun they had. So let me read. Let me go through so many scriptures I have. This is all right. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 14. It said, "Let them alone. They be blind leaders of the blind, and if the blind lead the blind, they both shall fall into a ditch." Meaning, basically, if you're following somebody that's basically blind, you're if they go the wrong way, which these people are going the wrong way, they're going astray. You're gonna be going. You're gonna be that same person going astray. So that's why it behooves you not to do that. That's why the scriptures say continually be around a godly man who basically, roughly paraphrasing, to keep the laws. So that's why it's imperative to be around other spiritual people who have understanding, and not around fools, because that's pretty much the brothers that are in the truth. That's pretty much what we try and do, have as least amount of occurrences, if possible, with people that aren't spiritual. And then the people, when we know something, we actually follow through with it and don't get derailed or whatever. Whereas these people, they just go with what is popular and all that. So it says, "He that trusted," it's like Proverbs 28:6. It says, "He that trusted in his own heart is a fool, but whoso walketh wisely, he shall be delivered." So trusting in your heart, is like the people that I was just getting into going into, they trust in their own heart because they don't know, they don't go by what the scriptures say. Or first and foremost, like it says, but whoso walketh wisely, he shall be delivered. What I mean? They're not walking wise. They're not being, like we always talk about, being circumspect, and that basically means being walking accurately, walking correctly. What I mean? Watching what you do, being attentive to what you do, and not being like a straight zombie. Being careful, meticulous, prudent about what you do, because we know that like the scripture says about the devil, he walketh about seeking whom he may devour. And and also we're out here to break, like the scriptures say, to break down the strongholds that are set up in the society. you know so this is Job chapter 9 verse 20. It says, if I justify my own mouth shall condemn me. If I say I am perfect, it shall also prove me perverse. So basically, with this scripture, you got a lot of people who are gonna say, in that day, when they actually, going back to what it's talking about in this article. Go back real quick. It said, then the last holdouts could be forcibly chipped by law. So you're gonna have people that are actually forced to get the mark of the beast, or RFID microchip, and their justification might be because it's the law. My family has to eat. We gotta get these things in a society that they deem as necessary. All right, so let me go back real quick. All right, this is going to be the last scripture. This is Proverbs 22:3. It says, a prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. So when you look at that word prudent, it basically means somebody that exercises good judgment. So it says, a prudent man foreseeth the evil, and this is the evil that we're talking about, is basically, the RFID microchip, or the mark of the beast, coming into manifestation, and incrementally coming into manifestation. Then it says, prudent man foreseeth the evil and hide himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. So, if you're simple, you're gonna basically follow blindly and go along with what this system Babylon is basically trying to implement. Going back to this article, it says companies often claim that these chips are secure and encrypted, but encrypted is a pretty vague term, he said, which could include anything from a truly secure product to something that is easily hackable. Another potential problem, Dr. Akwazi said, is that technology designed for one purpose may later be used for another. Just like we were saying, just like I was saying, they're making it like it's not that serious, it's for the job or whatever, but we know that eventually it's gonna be, for a mark, like as we say, the charagma, a mark of ownership by Babylon. Let me see. So it says, a microchip implanted today to allow for easy building access and payments could, in theory, be used later in more invasive ways to track the length of employees' bathroom or lunch breaks, for instance, without their consent or even their knowledge. Once they are implanted, it's very hard to predict or stop a future widening of their usage. And not only that, not only like if they were to have a device in the bathroom or the break room that can monitor all that stuff, but they could monitor say like if you have an RFID implant, where you go, the time just like just like what it was saying right there. But your the things you purchase, you know what I'm saying. It'll have all your receipts on there, everything you purchase, your habits. I mean, it's like a tracking device. It said, pretty soon experts say everyone will want to be chipped. Many sources say it is inevitable that we're all going to get chipped. So like I said, it will happen to everybody, but not this year and not in 2018. Maybe not my generation, but certainly that of my kids. Another pro-chipping advocate, Monster, an investor and analyst of Loop Ventures, said that we just have to get past that silly social stigma and then everyone will be doing it within 50 years. Why? Oh, the benefits. The company, which sells corporate cafeteria kiosks designed to replace vending machines, would like the kiosk to handle cashless transactions. It said this would go beyond paying with your smartphone. Instead, chipped customers would simply wave their hand and like you of Apple Pay and other mobile pay systems. The benefits don't stop there. In the future, consumers could zip through airport scanners, SANS passports or driver's license, open doors, start cars, and operate home automated automation systems. All of it if the technology pans out with this wave of a hand. And they're already starting to basically do that stuff. It says there are other companies who are on board with chipping everyone. At a recent tech conference, Hans, I don't know how to pronounce his name, explained how a microchip implant in his hand makes his life easier. It replaces all the keys and cards that used to clutter his pockets. I use this many times a day. For example, I use it to unlock my smartphone to open the door to my office. It says he explains, we biohackers, we think the human body is a good start, but there's certainly room for improvement. It says the first step in that improvement is getting a microchip about the size of a grain of rice slipped under the skin. Suddenly, the touch of a hand is enough to tell the office printer this is an authorized user. The microchips are radio frequency identification tags, the same technology widely used in things like key cards, which I was saying earlier, about the SEPTA key and all that stuff. The chips have been implanted in animals for years to help identify lost pets, and now the technology is moving to humans. And I did a video, a couple months ago about how, the they make it mandatory for, say, like dogs to get pets to get microchip, but mainly I think dogs, like like the, say for example, the pit bull breeds of dogs, or not just them, but dogs period. You know what I'm saying? They're making laws like that. So how can you make a law where you have to get your dog microchip? So if they do that, what makes you think, what I'm saying, they're not gonna do it for humans? I mean, you know what I mean? So what makes you think they're not gonna get it done in humans? Um, let's see. All right, here we go. Tech startup Dangerous Things has sold tens of thousands of implant kits for humans and some to tech companies in Europe. Even even organizes implant parties where people bond over getting chipped together, almost like how people had tattoo parties.
Why will microchipping parties be the next generation of those outrageously expensive candle parties? Will folks be pimping microchips like they do those scented wax melts? Will it become so kind of MLM thing to make it even more socially acceptable? A UK newspaper, The Sun, explains how awesome it is to be microchipped. The woman sat next to you could be hiding an implant under the skin, which slowly releases hormones to stop her from getting pregnant. Nans nans and granddads across the nation will come installed with cutting edge technology installed just to boost their hearing and vision, seeing, or help them walk with comfort. Okay, so this is basically going into how they're gonna make it to where you could get certain medical procedures done, but the medical procedures are gonna include getting the RFID microchip. We're preparing ourselves for the next form of evolution in which humans will merge with artificial intelligence, becoming one with computers. At least that's the belief of Dr. Patrick Kramer, chief cyborg officer at Digitwell, a company that claims to be dedicated to upgrading humans. All right, says there are some serious pitfalls. While the current shipping being installed in humans are said not to have GPS tracking, don't you figure it's just a matter of time? And also, how do you know that there is no GPS tracking technology in the tiny little chip just because they tell you so? Then there's the issue of the chip in your body being hacked. This is serious stuff. We're talking about a non-stop potential connection to my body, and I can't turn it off. I can put it away. It's in me. That's a big problem," said Ian Scher, an executive editor at CNET. See, all right. All right, it says the end game is microchipping people's brains, and folks are chomping chomping at the bit to get them. The bite to get them. It says scientists are saying that they can fix mental health issues with brain chips. They can make people smarter and help them merge with AI. A chip person could theoretically think his thoughts right on his computer onto his computer. So it says microchipping may not be optional one day, and this is what the main point. It says this horror movie gets even scarier. There's already a law on the books that potentially allows human beings to be forcibly chipped, which is the Obamacare. Obamacare, I believe, is page 1001, page paragraph 2. Oh, it's couch in warm fuzzy language, and they say it's just to help keep track of folks with Alzheimer's or other developmental disabilities. But remember that the most unpatriotic law ever passed was also called the Patriot Act. HR 4919 was passed in 2016. Yeah, you could do some research on that yourself. Despite the fact that the bill requires everyone to use privacy best practices, it's not that much of a stretch to see what a slippery slope this is. Who gets to decide whether a person needs to be chipped for their own good? Law enforcement. Scary. Could this lead to a cashless society? If everyone is getting microchip, like these experts predict, that could be the next step in the push towards a cashless society. Think about the lack of privacy then. If everything is purchased via a chip, unique to you, then no purchase could be under the radar. Whether a person was stocking up on food, watching X-rated movies, reading books on revolution, or buying ammo, it would all be recorded in a database. Our purchases could be used in some kind of pre-crime technology via Minority Report, or they could be used to profile us in other ways. So it says, if there's no way to make purchases but with a chip, many people will have to reluctantly comply. The same chips could be a requirement for medical care, driver's license, jobs, you name it. No matter where you try to hide, your GPS locator will mean that you would be found. It will be like everyone being forced to have one of those ankle bracelets that criminals wear, except it would be inside your body. Like, you know how now they have the ankle bracelets or whatever that monitor, if you leave a certain amount of feet from the house and all that type of stuff. Like that's what they had in that movie. I think it was Dragon Day, which was kind of alluding to the RFID microchip, or I think Dragon Day or Invasion Day, one of those it was called, which came out a couple of years ago. I mean, that's pretty much the point. You know what I'm saying? So I hope this is edifying, and shalom.